This year's May Day, the Working Class International Day of Unity, Struggle and Solidarity, coincided with a period when the working class and labourers across the world and in Turkey have been experiencing extraordinary conditions. Working people in many countries have been forced to work in cramped conditions, factories and businesses where no health measures have been taken. Because of health and social security systems rendered accessible by pay after being hollowed out with privatizations, those infected by the virus could not access adequate treatment. Many lost their lives because of this.
Evet, bu günleri bir kez daha unutmayacağız. Siyasal iktidarlar tarafından bugünlerde kimler için yasalar çıkartıldığını da buralardan sorgulamamız gerekiyor. O yüzden diyoruz ki salgına karşı da virüse karşı evet mesafeli olalım. Ama patronlara karşı da birlik, dayanışma ve mücadeleden şaşmayalım.
Repeated calls were made to stay at home in Turkey too, but factories and businesses continued to work. Demands for a halt to production, except in factories where essential production takes place, for making workplace dismissals illegal, and for paid leave have all been rejected by the government on grounds that it is costly. The Erdogan administration could not even give out masks to the workers. The government of the monopolies donating masks to the US and Britain left even health workers in Turkey without tests and equipment.
The curfews declared by the government for the weekends in the recent periods were extended to also include May Day, an official public holiday. In doing so, workers were prevented from celebrating May Day, issuing press releases and participating in demonstrations where social distancing was applied.
However, overcoming all the difficulties, widespread May Day celebrations by workers and labourers took place in Turkey.
As ever, Turkish, the trade union confederation with the largest membership in Turkey, was in concert with those in power, with a stopgap declaration of a wreath laying in presentation of workers at the Atatürk Memorial in Taksim in the centre of Istanbul, along with a few union officials. They betrayed the working class.
Nonetheless, some Turkish affiliated unions did not pursue the same line as that of the General Executive.
Bütün emekçi kardeşlerimizin bayramlarını kutlamak için toplandık. Yaşasın 1 Mayıs alanlardayız.
Alongside unions such as Deritex, the Union of Textile and Leather Workers, and TÜMTİS, the Transport Workers Union, several branches of various Turkish affiliated unions undertook celebrations on a local level. TÜMTİS organized May Day activities across the country.
Yaşasın 1 Mayıs! Yaşasın 1 Mayıs!
The Hak-İş Confederation, an organic extension of the government, also laid a wreath at the Taksim monument alongside Turkish, but did not even find it necessary to resort to a diplomatic style like Turkish in doing so, and recounted praise after praise for the government, the enemy of the workers and people. However, the Liman İş trade union affiliated to the Confederation played a role in May Day organizations taking place in workplaces.
In workplaces where union affiliated to DISC, the third largest trade union confederation, had organized May Day actions and activities took place and statements were read out. In several workplaces, workers affiliated to other trade unions also participated in these actions. Additionally, DISC, KESK, the Confederation of Public Sector Workers, professional organisations such as TMMOB, which is the Turkish Union of Architects and Engineers, and TTB, which is the Union of Physicians of Turkey, several political parties including MEP, Law Society, mass organisations, and various solidarity platforms, artists, and intellectuals made a joint call saying, "We will establish a new social order through science and labour." The global call highlighted that May Day 2020 will pass on to history as a breaking point in which the working class established a new social order. Demands were made for a humane living wage and social security, democracy and freedom of expression alongside equal citizenship.
İslam ekonomik ve sosyal tahribatla yüz yüze kalıyor. 1 Mayıs umudu yükseltecek, mücadeleyi hep birlikte büyüteceğiz. İnsanlığın geleceği, işçi
As a curfew was declared on May Day, widespread local actions and demonstrations took place and statements were read out on streets and squares on 30th of April. Local platforms and protests were organised with adherence to social distancing. These appealed to the working people through demands presented by 50 organisations. In several city and industrial centres, existing trade union platforms appealed to the workers to unite, struggle and stand in solidarity.
İstiyoruz. Hukukun üstünlüğünü. İstiyoruz. Savaşsız ve şiddetsiz bir yaşam. İstiyoruz. Eşit işe eşit ücret. İstiyoruz.
Genel iş, güç dolu şube itfaiye emekçileri olarak diyoruz ki kapitalizmin ve egemenlerin bağrında büyütülen bu salgın hastalığa boğuşan dünya halkları uyanmalı.
The Labour Party, MEP, prepared for May Day with two basic slogans in either pandemic and capitalism or future and socialism, and paid leave against the pandemic, socialism against exploitation. In April, in the call to struggle against capitalist system in which the workers and labourers are expected to foot the bill of the pandemic, the following points were made.
The workings of the capitalist wheel created the conditions suitable for the pandemic to emerge and easily spread with grave consequences, experienced primarily by workers and labourers. This virus once again laid bare the deep divide between social classes. While capitalists withdraw into their secure spaces and are isolated, production and supply of services at the factories, companies and businesses they own continue at the cost of the workers' and labourers' blood and lives. The bourgeoisie are in the protected side of the virus pandemic, while workers and labourers are in its unprotected side.
Sizde çıkarılıyorsa bu izin ücretli olmalıdır. Verdikleri 1170 lirayla mı bu insanlar yaşayacak? Parasız sağlık ücretli izin.
The one-man rule headed by Erdogan is concerned not with saving people but the system. Our party have called on the working class and labourers to unite and struggle around 10 demands. Health cannot be a subject of commerce or profit. The privatisation of health services should come to an end. People's access to quality and free health services should be ensured.
Production in all factory and businesses except those in essential sectors of production should come to a halt, and workers should be given paid leave during this process. Practices taking advantage of the pandemic to spread flexible working should be retracted, dismissals should be outlawed.
All anti-democratic practices, infringement of rights and political repression brought about on the grounds of coronavirus pandemic should come to an end.
Three days before May Day, MEP repeated its call to all workers and labourers to participate in May Day everywhere with their demands, stating that wherever we are, from workplaces to balconies, May Day is everywhere. In the run-up to May Day, there were widespread leaflet distributions, rousing speeches, writings and posters calling on people to join.
In celebrations spread over a week and culminating on 30th of April, May Day has been a day when the working class in Turkey have participated in actions from fields of production and services. Local dynamics, compared with the past, have forced their potentials and overcame their former limits. Labourers turned their factories, workshops, hospitals and bureaus into spaces of action.
Covid-19 salgınıyla birlikte artık eski düzen iflas etmiştir.
In the actions of 30th of April, especially the participation of workers from sectors such as metal, petroleum and chemistry, ports, textiles, leather, transport and municipal workers were high.
For health workers whose burden has increased during the pandemic, who have been forced to work without protective measures, who have become ill and who have lost many of their colleagues as a result, May Day became the occasion on which they expressed their dissent. The establishment of unity between health workers and the workers and labourers within this field, the celebration of May Day together by workers who are both unionised and non-unionised, and by workers who are members of different trade unions, the taking of a mutual stance around common demands by workers and public sector labourers within health and public services, and furthermore the realisation of the workers' unity on the local level despite the negative attitude of trade union confederation executives were all important developments.
On the morning of May Day, despite the curfew in place, the attempt by 25 leaders of DISC to march on Taksim, which had staged the 1977 May Day massacre, to lay a wreath were obstructed by the police as soon as they left their offices. The General Secretary and executive members were battered and detained. The state, which saw no issue with security forces being forced to work during the pandemic, regarded trade unionists' attempt to lay a wreath dangerous and did not permit it.
May Day activities also took place in factories and workplaces. The call for wherever we are, from workplaces to balconies, May Day is everywhere resonated. The high level of participation at 9 p.m. on the May Day night from balconies gave further voice to the celebration with anthems, slogans, whistles, pots and pans.
İş, ekmek, özgürlük. İş, ekmek, özgürlük.
Greeted under extraordinary conditions with the working class and labourers demonstrating a flexibility that took note of current circumstances, May Day 2020 was celebrated in Turkey with an energy worthy of its memory and glory.